Previously on Soothing Sounds podcast.
Whenever you go through internal difficulties, it's not you. It's not even about you. But then the main question is this: with all these information, with all the information that you are acquiring, where does it go to? And because the mental capacity is intangible, who's in control of it? Welcome to another episode of Soothing Sounds podcast. This is Cameron here, and in this episode, I'll be discussing the difference between not only living life from the inside out, but also from the outside in. Now, before I get to anything else, as I've mentioned before, with this podcast, this is not me providing any form of counseling. This is not me giving advice. This is just me telling you my story. Now, getting to the topic of conversation, living life, not only from the inside out, but also from the outside in. Now, like I've mentioned in my first episode where I spoke about the 3 stages that I have encountered, which was the burning sensation, moving over to the filter stage, and then lastly moving over to the lens stage. Now, specifically looking at the lens stage, the stage of perspective, looking at inside out versus outside in, and how you are able to distinguish between the two. Now, looking at the first component, living life from the inside out. Now, this is what we are mostly familiar with. This is what we are used to. And what I would say is more innate when it comes to our daily lives, because it refers to our thoughts, our mental state, our emotions, internal processes, chemical reactions, which are all the common factors of which we respond to, of which we react to. Everything that happens within then ultimately comes out. And getting to that point where I ask myself the question, so, with all the internal frequencies, is it a good thing? Is it a bad thing? The answer is simple. It's neither. Then I'm moving over into the second component, which is living life from the outside in, living life based on external frequencies. Now, all of this happened, like I said, during my perspective stage, the lens stage. Now, because of the nature of the burning sensation, which is a very destructive nature, at that point, I had no other choice but to disconnect myself from my internal being. I had to separate myself from my internal being, which again at the time was so confusing. It didn't make sense. How do I disconnect myself internally so that I can connect myself externally? How do I live life from the outside in? What is outside? Who is outside? What is externally? Who is externally? And what is so significant when it comes to the external frequencies? Why did I have to disconnect? Romans 8:6. For to be carnally minded is death, but to be spiritually minded is life and peace. The moment you allow yourself to open your eyes, you start to see the unseen. You start to feel the unseen. You start to connect with the unseen. You become one with the unseen. And I remember at the time, also like I've mentioned in my previous episode, that, going through the burning sense, just going through the experience itself, there was one thing and one thing only that I wanted. There was one thing that I was yearning for, and that was simply just peace. I didn't want anything else. And ultimately getting to that point of transitioning, of not living life from the inside out, but now living life from the outside in, then made me realize that peace that I was yearning for, that path that you need to walk in order to get to that peace that you were so yearning for, that peace is right in front of you. allow yourself to open your eyes. Open your eyes. Can you see it?